Oh my god. Oh my goodness, right now. Okay, I'm back here, and I'm back, and it's craziness. Hopefully, Amy gets back here. I'm gonna invite her on. I'm gonna invite her on. I'm gonna invite her on. Hopefully, as you can tell, it's I just got a little weird, and we're gonna go with part two, which is the second half because I need to finish this up. And we had a good roll going, and hopefully that's Amy right there. There she is. I'm gonna bring her right back on here. Um, yeah, part two, because now I have a two-parter. Never had a two-parter before, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, we're back. Look at that. You were talking about how I can positively impact my life, and then it just shuts off.
Oh no!
Heard you, and they're like, "Oh my God, Ashley!"
Absolutely not. We
No,
cannot
no,
make people feel better.
no. Yes, no. It's crazy though because we're within our last 15 minutes, so thank God. We didn't get cut off and cut on and cut off and cut on because that is just like one of those things
Yeah.
where there's that stress comes and then eventually my toe falls off subsequently because of that. And I think you have such a cavalier and it's not even cavalier actually, you're very serious about what you do, but you have fun with what you do, and that's really important, especially when you're in a line of work that's super serious like that. I mean, what you do is something that number one is innovative because while there are plenty of yogis out there, there are very few that take special interest in people. And not only that, but you have to travel to the foothills of Peru and drink their weird drinks, and you're giving practical advice, and you're
Yeah.
not only giving the practical advice, but you're backing up with evidence, and so you're creating an all around business that leaves no questions unanswered. And when I hear that, when I see that, I saw it last week, and it's for some reason the women seem to get their stuff together quicker than the men. I'm telling you, I've had male guests. Believe it or not, my first season was primarily male guests, and I didn't realize that until I was doing all the audio for it. And I mean, these guys are still trying to figure it all out, and then I get these girls on, and you guys all, it's between you, Summer, and Tracy, and last week, you guys all got the answers. You know exactly what you're doing. You're not diving in head first, like, oh, well, if it fails, what the hell? You're creating something that is sound and something that can really be used by everyone. And I think one of the reasons that it resonates so much with me, obviously, is because I'm 24 and my life's a mess, as it should be at 24. But also because people who are older can reflect back and be like, holy shit. This is where they can pinpoint what went wrong, and then you can take that and you can create a way for them to be better with their business and their families and their life. And so I want to thank you on behalf of America because I think that what you're doing needs to be thanked, and I'm a big believer that the people who do the most in the world probably get the least thanks. So I think that's awesome. Also, quick question. Tell me a story from when you were 24. Nothing crazy. We do have explicit content marks, but nothing crazy because I believe Anthony's here and he's only 13. So tell us something fun, something maybe a little wild, but nothing that involves, um, I don't know. You know what? You just go with it, and we'll see.
Okay, you cut me off if I need to be cut off. Well, I'm the kind of person that really. Hi, Anthony. I won't be explicit because of you. You cut me off when I need to be cut off.
I gotcha.
Um,
Anthony, earmuffs. Earmuffs.
constant earmuffs. So when I was 24, I was teaching middle school. I was in my third year of teaching middle school. It was 2004. And I'd been teaching for 3 years. Every year I went on spring break someplace different. Like I went to London and I went to the Netherlands. And then one year I couldn't think of a place to go. And my friend Perrin, he emailed me and he was like, dude, I met him when I was studying abroad in London. So I had visited him like 2 years prior. And he's like, dude, guess where I live now? And you need to come and visit. And I was like, where? And he was like, I live in Key West. Have you ever been to Key West, Amy? I said, no. Okay.
London. Netherlands, never Key West.
No,
Never
I hadn't. And up until that point, like I pretty much would self-described like rule follower, You know, always did really well in school, like always did all the things. I did the sports, I did the drama, I did the music, I did the good grades, I did all the things. I was basically like, I was the overachiever people pleaser times 1,000,000. Like, I just never ever stopped. And really, you know, becoming a teacher kind of, it perpetuated that. And when you are, and this is where it comes, being a teacher is similar to being an entrepreneur. When you're constantly being of service, then it's really easy to justify staying up till 2 a.m, or if that's not your routine, or, you know, doing all these things that are unhealthy because you're being of service. Like, you need to do this for your people. People are relying on you, your clients, your market, your audience, whomever. So anyway, that's how I connect those two. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go to Key West. And so I went, and now keep in mind, I'm an overachiever people pleaser, but anybody that I've ever dated has been like the opposite. They've been like the fly by the seat of your pants, like have fun no matter what, like kind of person. So those are the kinds of people that I'm friends with, but I tend to be like the responsible one or whatever.
You're the designated driver.
Yeah, I was.
I was.
But when I went to Key West, like before I left, I remember thinking, fuck this noise. Like, I need to have some fun. Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony. Sorry, Anthony.
Fine. No, that's perfect. That was just hilarious.
I need to have some fun. And what I came to realize over time was that I was never actually a rule follower to begin with. I was just trying to do what I was supposed to do in order to be successful. So I was really like, that was kind of like the beginning of me like coming out of my shell. So I went to Key West. No, not in Key West. So I went to Key West. I was supposed to go for a week. I go down there. I'm staying with my friend, Perrin, and I meet his best friend. In about 4 days, I fall in love with his best friend over a week of like crazy partying, like 24/7. I miss my flight home. And I'm supposed to teach or whatever.
Yeah, I
miss my flight. I create an excuse that I can't fly because I have an ear infection. And I stay another 5 days.
Did you get fired?
No, I didn't, because I never called out. Like, no one had any reason to not believe me. Like, I took sick days that belonged to me. And so I said I had an ear infection, and I stayed 5 more days. That was probably like the first big time that I just did what I wanted to do, and I didn't follow the rules in like a big way. So the story gets better.
It's chaos. This is awesome, by the way. I'm loving every second of it.
I won't say the things that Anthony can't hear, but I did a couple other things while I was there that were, you know, Key West-ish. That were also breaking the rules. And
yes.
6 weeks later, I went back to visit the guy that I had met. Had a great time for the weekend. 4 months later, I moved to Newport, Rhode Island, which is where he lived, where his main place was, and I lived there for 10 years.
Wow. You know, of all the things I've done in my life, I've never done anything like that.
There's still time.
Holy shit. Yeah, you're right. What am I doing? I'm going to Key West. No, and that's funny because I've been to Key West several times, and I can understand. It's kind of like a cesspool of fantastic, terrible awesomeness.
It totally is.
And it will suck you in, and it will suck you dry, and then next thing you know, I guess you live in Rhode Island. So, you said Rhode Island, right?
Yeah. Newport, Rhode Island. Yep.
Newport, Rhode Island. That's what happens. And I guess that's what happens when you repress never breaking the rules, and then the one time you decide to, you lose your mind, and you get an ear infection.
I didn't get the ear infection. That was a lie.
And these poor children.
You know what it was? It was that you're right. It was that I'd followed the rules for a really long time, but I think that that was just another opportunity that I had to decide like what makes me happy and then take action on it. Like,
No,
and
definitely.
interestingly enough, like prior to all of this stuff,
I'm
I
listening.
had watched an Oprah show, and you might laugh at this
I'm laughing already.
because this is like I grew up watching Oprah. We watched Oprah well, if I didn't have practice or something, I watched Oprah like every day at 4. Like Oprah was on. And so here I am, 23, 24 years old and living in Baltimore. And I watched an Oprah show where she had somebody on that would pay people millions of dollars to confront the thing that they were the most afraid of. So someone had the phobia that they were afraid to like go up and down in elevators. And it wasn't like it was like, okay, now go do your fear thing and we'll give you the money. This guy actually coached people through, following
I would
through
have lied.
confronting their biggest fears.
I would have lied. I
What?
would have lied the entire way through that. I would have been like, I am terrified of sports cars. Let's figure this out. Like,
Yeah. So like somebody else was afraid of sharks or whatever. And it was like, phobic stuff, like where people were like physically paralyzed from these things, it could seem like something small on the outside, but it was really something where there was a physical response,
like birds.
and it was controlling their lives. And so what would end up happening is people confronted their fears, was given this amount of money, but their entire life changed. Because what happens if you confront the thing that you're most afraid of?
You have no fear.
You're free.
What? And you got millions of dollars.
So what I realized, yeah, and you have millions of dollars, and now you can, take action on things that don't scare you, in order to make your life even better. So that kind of that show, it really started a chain reaction in myself in terms of me saying, what's the thing that I was the most afraid of? And what I realized was I was the most afraid of never leaving where I grew up. That I would stay at the same middle school, at the same school for 20 years, because that's what people did, when they went in teaching specifically. And that's the way I thought life was supposed to be. Like my dad had been in like basically the same kind of job for the majority of his career. And the parents of people that I grew up with, they stayed in the same job for a long period of time. And so I had this idea in my head that that's how it had to be. And what I realized was that I didn't want to stay in the same job for 20 years. I didn't want to live down the road from my parents. I didn't want a house. I didn't want to pick a fence. I didn't want a family with 3.5 kids or whatever it is. Like, I realized that I didn't want that at all. Like, none of it was appealing. And so I realized, I think at that time I knew that I had to leave. Like, I had to leave, but I was too afraid to leave on my own. I was too afraid to be like, fuck it, I'm out of here, and then move someplace, by myself. So here I, did something like that was, out of the norm of how you were supposed to be. And it really set me free.
But that's
because what I realized was
like, that's a giant exit. You know what I mean? Like, guys, and it makes sense when you think about the fear of stagnation, and I don't even know if stagnation's the word, but the fear of being stagnant. What you did actually makes a lot of sense. But when I think about it, it's just like, oh dear God, woman, like, you need a hug. What is going on with you? And I'm sure your parents probably saw it like that too. Like, I told you one day, Bert, she was gonna lose it. She lost it, and then your dad was like, you know what, Mary? Hopefully she'll come back. And that's what I see, like, your parents in there reading, with that awesome stuff. Like, your parents are in that white picket fence, and you guys got the dog in the fireplace and the pipe in your mouth, because apparently I'm picturing some 1920s scene or something. But, yeah, so I just see it, and I see, like, your dad sitting with his legs crossed and being like, told you she'd snap, and your mom like giving him $20 or something and being like, and then if you have a brother, him coming down and be like, well, I hit the nail right on the head at 24, so you guys owe me $60. Like, it's now I have a whole play called Being Amy in my head, and I'm gonna write that.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, like the funny thing was I needed to break out. And the funny thing was, once I decided, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this at the end of the summer. I was working on my master's down in North Carolina when I made the decision to do it. And then I called my parents and I was like, hey, by the end of the summer, this is what I'm going to do. And they're just like, what the fuck? Right. And then I realized when I actually got back from grad school that if I didn't go that week, I wasn't ever going to go. So I called the guy I was dating and I said, can you get down here like tomorrow? Because I'm going to lose my nerve to leave if I don't leave in the next week. And he was like, sweet. Okay. So we did.
Dudes will do anything for guaranteed life. Dudes, yeah. Yes, I will drive halfway across the country for you. Yeah, of course. And it's incredibly romantic, by the way. I will say that. That is.
Well, I like to say is a relationship. Well, I mean, you know, it was a catalyst for change. It was a catalyst for change, and we're good friends now. What should have lasted 2 weeks lasted 2.5 years, and I'm grateful for the experience. I grew a lot, and you know, I'm lucky. I'm really lucky to have had like so many adventures with the people that I met in Newport. Like when I lived there for 10 years, I was working on sailboats and I was working in a boatyard and was,
Isn't Newport beaches?
There's beaches. It's an island.
Yeah. Okay.
That's in California.
Oh.
Yeah. So I ran away with a sailor to become a sailor.
That's so awesome. But see, when you tell it that way, okay, when you say I ran away with a sailor to become a sailor, it's romantic. When you say I was a middle school teacher who met a guy for 2 weeks in Key West and moved in with him, see, then you sound insane and like you need a crisis.
Oh, I didn't move in with him. I didn't move in with him. I just moved to the town that he lived in.
Oh no, I would have had to stay for free. I would have had to have that free rent. There's no way I'm moving to where you are and paying my own rent.
That's no, because I went knowing that the likelihood that it was a toss up as to whether it would work. Like my idealistic self was like, yay, this is gonna work and we'll be happily ever after. And then the other part of me is like, well, don't live with him, like, because that wouldn't be the best. Like, because if it doesn't work out, you need to have your own shit. And so
don't live with him. This ain't gonna work, Katie. This ain't gonna work. We both know it, and this is fun, and we need this. But long term,
the stories that I have are inappropriate for Anthony.
I hope so. I think this one was pretty appropriate. Anthony, if you're watching this, if your teacher goes missing for a week, she's moved on, buddy. She's gone. All I can picture is you being gone for a week and then kids being like, where's Miss Amy? And they're like, Miss Amy has an ear infection. They probably like made you cards and shit, and you're really just like sitting in Key West drinking Colt 45.
Oh, well, and the funny part, yeah, no, totally true, too. And totally true. And the funny thing is I shared a classroom with my friend John, and I didn't tell anybody. When I got back, I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody I lied. Like, I'm not. Like,
why would you?
Right? The end of the year, John's like, you're moving to Newport? That's the ear infection? Are you fucking kidding me, Amy?
I had to deal with all these kids. Well, you're drinking at Fat Tuesdays and Senior Frogs. I hope you had a good time. I don't know if they had the ice bar back then. I doubt it, but Key West now has an ice bar. If you are so inclined to ever visit Florida, I'm sure me and Mark would love to take you to Key West. I am not open and available for any sort of relationship and commitment long term. Maybe Mark is. Because apparently you do enjoy running away with people. I'm not about that run away anymore.
I'm not about that life anymore. I'm too old for that shit now.
It's old for a princess.
15 years later. Yeah, 15 years later. Nah.
All right. Well, I'm just making sure. That way I don't offer and there's no unrealistic expectations. Like
no. We'll go. We'll have a good time. I'm the best wing woman in the world.
That's what I need. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why you guys. I'm sorry about the part 2 thing. It's not my fault. Got a phone call. Blame them. But this is
that what happened?
Yeah. And I didn't take it. I ignored it. It'll say like resume or finish broadcast, and I totally hit finish. And I was like, shit. And I was pressing go back. Like that was gonna work. And I didn't. Go back. And I found myself on a home screen. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just give up.
It's okay. Don't get stressed about it.
I didn't. I just copied and pasted the old stuff and just put part 2 on the bottom. And that's just my
Awesome.
first part 2. And so, Amy, I do have to go because I am starving.
Okay.
Go
eat your bagels.
I have to say yes to my body.
Yes.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it so well. I'm also going to say yes to bacon and
I love
probably
bacon.
say no to exercise because I feel as though me and exercise haven't hit that part in our relationship where we should start doing it. Oh! Yes, that was awesome.
That was so awesome.
Awesome.
We need to hang out more.
We do need to hang out more. I just don't want to run away into the sunset or become a sailor. I love the sea, but I don't like to have calluses on my hands. I think that's so ridiculous. But yes, I do because I'm starving, and I think today was super accomplished. I found some really good material, some really funny things. You just like made me get a journal, so that's a thing too that you should congratulate yourself on. And is there any more wisdom you would like to impart? Anthony, you always say these at the end of these. It's because I'm always hungry at the end. It's my tagline.
All this learning, it makes me hungry.
Let me have it. I was hoping nobody would ever notice that. Like, I was hoping it. But he just put me out, and it's like, damn it, Anthony. It was just like such a good way to close, too, man. Mind your business.
Don't you hate it when you get called out on your Facebook Lives?
That was like a good tagline. Oh, Anthony, why, man? Why did you do that?
Hashtag gotta go, I'm hungry.
Gotta go,
again.
Okay, but is there any other wisdom you'd love to leave with these fine people who apparently just called me out on my taglines?
Yeah, really, that what people. So the way that I teach meditation is 3-minute meditation, and I won't go through all of it now, but I do have instructional videos. So if people are interested in like getting the step-by-step on how to meditate, I have those available.
Drop the links.
Can we? BT phone home. Boop, boop.
Boop.
Yes!
Yeah, there it is. That's awesome. Yes, make sure you drop your links, please. Always drop your links. Don't ever feel like that. You cannot.
And that it doesn't have to be some hard thing. A lot of people think that meditation means that they're going to sit down and they're not going to have any thoughts anymore. So they sit down because all the science says, oh, meditation will make you happier, healthier, like it'll improve your relationships, it'll improve your business, it'll allow you to be better, at the gym, like, blah, blah, blah. And then people are like, I have to do this meditation thing. I must do it. It will make everything better. And they sit down to meditate and they're like, motherfucker, I'm awful at this. And they sit down and they pay attention and they're like, their thoughts are like, oh, I think my thoughts should be gone while I'm meditating. And all they notice is thoughts. So they think they're awful at it. They think they failed and they stop trying. This is the thing. Meditation is not no thoughts. It's the process of noticing your thoughts and then bringing your attention to your breath. So the way I teach meditation is with a specific type of breathing. When you slow your breathing down and you make it a little bit more audible so you can hear it, you're sending a message to your body that it's time to calm down. Every time you notice a thought in your head, story, like I like to call it stories, you bring your attention back and you listen to the sound of your breath and you notice your chest rising and falling and your belly moving in and out. And you just do that every time. It's like a muscle. And you get better and better at going, oh, there's a story. Pay attention to your breath. And so start with 3 minutes. If 3 minutes is too much, start with 1. Like, it doesn't have to be this big, like, I'm going to meditate for an hour and I have to sit like this and I have to do all this stuff. You don't. You can lay down. You can sit in a chair. You can lay on the couch. You be comfy. Close your eyes. Turn your palms up to the ceiling. And when you turn your palms up to the ceiling, you're actually sending another signal to your parasympathetic nervous system that it's time to calm down.
Parasympathetic. Big syllables.
Yep.
Love that. All right, Amy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. No. I thought you were.
So what I want people to know is that it's very accessible. And if they have any more questions, I'm happy to do this. I'm actually going to start a meditation challenge starting next week. a 5-day meditation challenge. I've been doing 3 days off and on, but I'm going to start on Monday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if people want to check it out and be coached, you know.
It's all good. I just didn't think anyone noticed. I didn't think anybody ever noticed.
Yeah, so I'll put information down in the comments about that too. So it's not something big. It's not something scary. It's not something that you're doing wrong. You're just not practiced at it. And you had this idea that it should be no thoughts. And that's next to impossible. Those thoughts rarely go away. It's just a matter of, are you going to let those thoughts decide how you're going to act? Or are you just going to notice them and go, huh, look, there's another story I'm telling myself.
Food for thought. Food for thought. This was awesome, man. I had a great time.
Awesome.
You are fantastic. You are a spectacular human being. On Wednesday, I have Elisha, who I swear to God his name's Elisha, but he says it's Elisha. He's coming on here Monday. We're going to get real boring with it. We're going to talk about, like, client acquisition. We're going to talk about other things that most people are going to be like, what the hell does that mean? So I will give you a dictionary definition of everything on Wednesday. But I would tell you that I'm hungry, but I'm not.
She's going to meditate. She's going to meditate.
I'm going to say yes to myself and meditate. So that's what I'm going to do. Amy, are you going to go meditate?
Am I going to do what?
Go meditate.
I am going to go eat.
She's going to go eat.
Because I haven't eaten dinner.
Look at this. Look at these priorities. Look at that. Work towards it. I'm just kidding. As always, I am Ashley. That is Amy. If you can't see her because you're listening on the radio, she's to the right of me, or to the left if you're sitting opposite of me. I am Ashley. This is Who's This. I am Captain Ashley, sailing you through a sea of life, making it a little easier through these rough seas. And I will be back Wednesday. And if this is Saturday and you're listening, I will be back next Saturday. So bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Amy.
Bye-bye.